Welcome to Stuck, Time to Improv. I'm Mary Scott with Business Ref, and I want startups to be wildly successful. Today, we're going to be talking about how to get your brag on because it's all about visibility with Jeannette Seibly from SeibCo. Thank you so much for coming, Jeannette.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and to meet you and to talk to people who are in a startup mode.
Exactly. So, we're talking about visibility here. So, what are some of the things that people really need to know?
Well, I think the biggest tip that a lot of startups overlook, like it's not even within their thought process, is that there's a difference between marketing and selling. So marketing is letting people know about the product and services you have, listening to their questions, doing some network to get underneath to find out what the real issues are, because what people say may not be what the true issues are. And then selling is actually then doing a presentation or selling. Like, okay, I've done my homework and I'm ready to sell. What I like to do is I love to share how the brag makes a big difference. So bragging, getting your brag on is an art. Oh, mom always said it's wrong, bad and wrong to be bragging. A lot of times, though, our younger millennials and our Gen Zers, the issue they have is that their peer group says it's we, not I. But the problem with that is the I is what did the work, or the I is in the job interview, or the I is the one in front of the potential customer selling, or in front of the customer upselling and cross-selling. So bragging is really, really critical. And the thing to remember is it ain't bragging if you've done it. And that's a quote from Walt Whitman.
We've always said that it's not bragging if you actually can go up to the tree and push it over.
I love that. Exactly. In fact, it reminds me of a really great story before I get into the 3 key tips to bragging. I did a workshop, a keynote presentation a couple years ago. And there was a young woman who was in her 20s who said, I don't have anything to brag about. I'm only in my 20s. And I said, au contraire, I don't care how young you are or how old you are. We all have something to brag about. So this woman, who's a business owner, small business owner, startup, like a lot of your listeners, had one dance studio. But she was being invited to go talk to all these different groups about her success because she went from 1 to 5 dance studios. So she was talking about me. She's talking about the brag work that she had done, which isn't hard to do, but there are a few pointers I'm going to be sharing with you in just a minute. So here's the really cool part of this story. So guess who she choreographed dance for Broadway? And the reason is because she learned to get her brag on. And like I said, it doesn't take a lot to do it, but it does take a focused effort. So the first tip is you got to know your numbers. Whatever the numbers are, it's important you get comfortable with them. So, and the more numbers you can use, the more enticing that becomes to people listening to you. So if I just went and said, hey, I'm a coach, people go, yawn, go away. I already know hundreds of you, right? But I say, well, I'm a leadership results coach, and along the way guided the creation of 3 millionaires. Well, guess what? People who are interested in that kind of result are going to want to talk with me, right? But what if I said, I'm a talent advisor? And I said, oh, I've helped hundreds of people, hundreds of companies. I've helped, and people go, oh, okay. Because there's nothing differentiating me from anybody else out there. So here's an example with more than one number. And see if you can guess how many numbers I use. So it was working with an $18 million company who was experiencing 42% turnover. I took it down to 26% turnover. We did that in 6 months, saving them $250,000. That's 5 numbers. It's very short. It's a very powerful story. It's bragging. And people who are experiencing some high turnover, hey, we want to talk with you. So again, numbers are your friends, and any good business owner, entrepreneur, startup, solopreneur knows their numbers. The second piece, now we got our numbers, we're looking at our accomplishments. Thing is, we have to get comfortable with our achievements. So here's the second tip. Share your accomplishments with the person looking back at you in the mirror. And share it until the person looking back at you feels comfortable. So that's tip number 2. And then tip number 3 is use them appropriately. I don't know about you, Mary, but I'm sure you've gone to a lot of networking meetings where people just talk on and on and on and say nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing is I think that for me, I don't do the bragging until I've asked some questions and found out who I'm talking to and what kinds of things are issues that they have, so that sometimes it's appropriate to say, I made 2 documentary films that actually made money. So me and Ken Burns, right? To get that conversation going. And sometimes it's more appropriate to say, well, if you need $100,000, Arch Grants has opened their cohort applications.
Exactly. Well, just another food for thought on what you just said. A lot of times people feel like their time has been wasted if they've been asked a lot of questions, and then to find out that's really not what they do or what they're interested in is not what you do. So what I'm going to suggest, and again, I would do this at networking meetings, either one-on-one or in small groups, I would say, I'm a leadership results coach, and along the way guide the creation of 3 millionaires, or I might share a different brag depending on the audience and what the interest is. The reason for doing that is if people are interested, they will come up to you. But otherwise, people don't feel comfortable if they've been asked a lot of questions, or if you're talking on and on and on. And I'm sure you've heard them about things that just are of no interest to them. Or, and I've seen this happen too, where they share who they are. The person starts to walk away, and the person's like following after them, continuing to talk about the benefits of their products and services. Here's the thing. As a startup, particularly, you're not being paid for that work, and you become annoying if you do that. So again, share your brags. If they say, well, tell me more about that, then have your brag paragraph ready, which again is outlined. The 5 steps are outlined in the book. It's time to brag.
Okay. Well,
and that's how people really get their business going. I've had people attend workshops and that very afternoon go out and close 2 new sales. I don't know why they do it in 2s. They do. It's always, I did 2. It's like, good for you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Jeannette Seibly. We will put links to your book and any other contact information into the comment section here. And people should remember to get your brag on, because visibility is important when you're just starting out. So I'm Mary Scott with Business Ref. I want startups to be wildly successful. One of the best things you can do to accomplish that is book a synergy call with me at businessref.com. And join us again next time for Stuck, Time to Improv.